At 7:04 a.m. on May 17, 2026, the first explosion ripped across Kacha Air Base, north of Sevastopol. A Beaver drone, moving at nearly 205 kilometers per hour, dropped into a parked B-12 amphibious patrol aircraft at a sharp angle. For 1 second, there was only a flash. Then the fuel caught, a maintenance vehicle burned, and black smoke climbed over the runway. Within minutes, a second blast shook the helicopter area near a Mi-8, while a late-arriving Pansier S1 tried to fire through smoke, heat, and confusion. What made this attack shocking was not the size of the drones. It was the fact that they had passed through layers of Tor M2, Buk M3, S400, and Pansier S1 defenses before reaching the target. Before we break down how that happened, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more detailed military story analysis, told step by step. 6:14 a.m., 6 Beaver drones lifted off from the Kherson direction and turned southeast toward Crimea. Their target was not a trench line, not a convoy, and not a radar truck moving through open ground. Their target was Kacha Air Base, north of Sevastopol, where several rare B-12 amphibious patrol aircraft were still parked in the open. At this stage, there was no explosion, no fireball, no visible strike. Only 6 small contacts moving through the early morning air. About 13 kilometers away, a Russian Tor M2 battery detected them. On the operator's screen, the picture looked manageable. 6 slow targets, 3 loose pairs, all within reach. The launcher had 15 ready missiles, and the crew believed they had more than enough firepower to stop the raid before it became a threat. But Ukraine had not sent 6 drones in a simple line. The first pair climbed sharply to around 520 meters, loud on radar and easy to prioritize. They looked careless, almost too obvious. The second pair stayed lower, near 110 meters, following the darker ground below. The third pair appeared roughly 40 seconds later, forcing the Tor crew to redraw the situation in real time. The commander chose the high pair first. 2 9M338 missiles left the launcher and climbed toward the targets. For a moment, the intercept looked clean. Then both drones dropped hard toward the terrain. The radar picture filled with ground clutter, metal reflections, fences, rooftops, and moving shadows. After about 13 seconds, both missiles failed to hold a stable solution and self-destructed. The drones were still there. The Tor crew had not been attacked yet, but the fight had already stopped being simple. 6:31 a.m., the remaining Beaver drones pushed beyond the tightest part of the Tor M2 engagement zone. The battery had seen them, fired at them, and still failed to remove the threat. That failure mattered, because every second the drones stayed airborne brought them closer to Crimea. One pair dropped into a shallow terrain seam southwest of the Tor position. The corridor was narrow, less than 460 meters wide at ground level, but it was enough. At roughly 40 meters altitude, the drones passed through a radar shadow where the Tor could not hold a steady track. Then the next layer woke up. A Buk M3 battery near Nova Kakhovka had been watching the approach. This crew was not surprised. They had seen drone routes before, and they understood what was coming if the formation kept moving south. At 6:38 a.m., the Buk launched. The missile came in fast and low, closing the distance in seconds. One Beaver tried to cut across a small industrial area, using a grain elevator and concrete structures to break the intercept line. The missile followed, but the geometry was ugly. It was built for clean intercepts, not a tight chase around buildings and ground clutter. The detonation happened just outside the main route. A pressure wave and fragments clipped the trailing drone. It spun out, dropped into an empty lot near an old warehouse, and burst into a short orange fireball. It was not the main strike. It was not the airbase, but it was the first visible explosion of the morning. 1 drone was gone. 5 continued. If you are following this breakdown, subscribe to the channel, because the next minutes show exactly why 1 successful intercept was still not enough. The Buck M3 tried to rebuild the picture, but the remaining drones crossed paths and split again. Radar returns merged, separated, and forced the system to recalculate. The delay was measured in fractions of a second, but in an engagement like this, fractions become openings. By 6:44 a.m., the report was clear. 5 UAVs were still moving south, changing speed, changing spacing, and heading toward the next defensive layer. That layer was the S-400, and on paper, it should have ended the raid. 7:04 a.m., the first Beaver drone reached Kacha Air Base. It came in low, then lifted just enough to clear the outer structures, before rolling into a steep terminal dive. The angle was close to 39 degrees. The speed was around 208 kilometers per hour. On the apron below, a BE-12 amphibious patrol aircraft sat exposed beside a maintenance vehicle and a small fuel service point. The impact was instant. For less than a second, the strike looked like a white flash under the wing root. Then the fuel ignited. Fire moved along the lower fuselage, wrapped around the landing gear, and pushed a black column of smoke above the parking area. The blast did not need to flatten the whole airfield. It only needed to hit one rare aircraft in the one place where repair would become almost impossible. This was the main explosion, but it was not created in that final second. It had been built during the previous 40 minutes. At 6:51 a.m., the surviving drones entered the wider control zone of the S-400. On paper, this was the strongest layer in the chain. Long range, powerful radar, a system designed to control huge volumes of airspace. Against normal aircraft, the advantage was obvious, but these were not normal aircraft. 3 Beaver drones slowed to roughly 94 kilometers per hour, then shifted between 91 and 99. Their radar signatures flickered near the edge of what the system wanted to treat as a valid target. The screen did not go blank. It did something worse. It became uncertain. The operators saw contacts appear, fade, and return. No single track stayed clean long enough to justify a confident engagement. Then Russian air traffic made the problem harder. A military transport descending toward Sevastopol crossed near the same approach corridor. With a friendly aircraft broadcasting its identity, the network had to follow safety restrictions. No commander wanted a missile moving through that zone without a clean picture. That hesitation lasted about 7 minutes. 7 minutes was enough. By the time the S-400 picture cleared, the first Beaver was already over Kacha. A few seconds later, the BE-12 was burning. 7:05 a.m., a Pansier S1 finally rolled into the Kacha perimeter. This was the system that should have owned the last kilometer. Short-range missiles, twin 30mm cannons, fast reaction time, and a radar built for low-flying threats. If it had been fully deployed 5 minutes earlier, the ending could have looked very different. But it arrived late. The crew stopped near the edge of the apron with smoke already rising from the burning BE-12. Standard setup needed time. Stabilizing jacks, platform leveling, radar alignment, weapon checks. Under normal conditions, that process could take several minutes. The crew had less than 95 seconds before the next drone entered a dangerous angle. The commander made the only practical choice. They fired from the wheels. That decision kept the system in the fight, but it also took away precision. The vehicle shifted under its own weight. The radar picture shook. Every small movement mattered because the targets were not large jets. They were compact drones moving at changing altitude and speed. The first Pantsir missile launched at 7:06 a.m. and drifted off course almost immediately. Its guidance never settled. After roughly 820 meters, it self-destructed in open air. The second missile performed better. It caught one Beaver near the northeast edge of the field and detonated close enough to tear it apart. The same blast damaged another drone flying nearby, knocking it out of formation and sending it down beyond the runway service road. For a moment, the crew had a result. Then the cannons took over. The twin 30mm guns fired in long bursts. sending almost 790 rounds across the low sky in under 2 minutes. The pattern looked heavy, but the aim was never steady. Smoke from the first explosion drifted across the sensor line. Heat from the fire distorted the image. The vehicle rocked with recoil each time the guns opened up. The remaining drones did not fly straight through the fire. They shifted around it, changing height and angle just enough to deny a clean solution. Pantsir had arrived. Pantsir had fired. Pantsir had scored a kill. But Kacha was still not safe. 7:07 a.m., another Beaver drone broke away from the smoke line and curved toward the helicopter parking area. Below it, a Mi-8 sat near a small ammunition holding point and several ground service crates. It was not as rare as the BE-12, but its position made it dangerous. The aircraft, the equipment, and the stored rounds were packed into a space of less than 60 meters. One accurate hit there could turn a limited strike into a wider base emergency. The drone dropped. The explosion was smaller than the first hit on the B-12, but the aftermath spread faster. Flames moved under the helicopter's tail section, then reached the nearby storage area. Within seconds, light ammunition began cooking off in short, sharp bursts. The sound was not one massive detonation. It was a rapid chain of cracks, pops, and secondary flashes that lasted almost 32 seconds. That was when the situation became worse for the Pansier S1. Fragments scattered across the apron and struck equipment near the vehicle. Several impacts hit the radar housing and sensor array. The system was not destroyed, but its ability to track cleanly dropped at the worst possible moment. The crew still had weapons, but their eyes were damaged. The final Beaver crossed behind the smoke, its camera facing down toward the burning apron. The first B-12 was already covered in black smoke. The helicopter area was unstable. Ground crews were pulling back from the danger zone, and the Pantsir was struggling to rebuild a clear track. At 7:09 a.m., the last drone turned toward a second, B-12. There was no long chase left, no clean intercept window, no stable firing solution. The Beaver descended across the edge of the fire and hit the aircraft low along the fuselage. The blast rolled through the parking stand. Fire spread along the body of the aircraft, then swallowed the wing root. In less than a minute, the second BE-12 was no longer recoverable. Kacha still had defenses on the field, but by then, the damage had already outrun the response. 7:18 a.m., the firing around Kacha Air Base began to fade. The sky was no longer filled with moving targets. The remaining sounds came from burning fuel, emergency vehicles, and scattered secondary pops from damaged equipment near the helicopter area. Across the apron, 2 BE-12 amphibious patrol aircraft were either destroyed or damaged beyond practical recovery. A Mi-8 parking zone was burning, and the Pansier S1 that arrived to stop the final wave had lost much of its tracking ability at the worst possible time. The raid had lasted less than 65 minutes from first detection to final impact. That is the part that matters. This was not a case of one defense system failing alone. It was a chain of small delays, forced decisions, and narrow technical limits. The Tor M2 saw the drones early, but low altitude and ground clutter disrupted the intercept. The Book M3 scored a kill, yet the remaining drones crossed, split, and kept moving. The S400 had range, but uncertainty around slow, unstable tracks created hesitation. The Pansier S1 was built for close defense, but it arrived late and fought from an unstable position. Each layer did something. None of them did enough. My view is that the most important lesson is not that small drones are unstoppable. They are not. The lesson is that even advanced air defense can be overloaded when timing, terrain, speed, and procedure are used against it at the same time. A system does not have to be destroyed to be defeated. Sometimes it only has to pause, misread, or react a few seconds too late. Kacha showed how dangerous those few seconds can become. A base with multiple defensive layers still lost rare aircraft because the attack did not challenge only the weapons. It challenged the assumptions behind them. So what do you think? Was this the future of drone warfare against fixed military bases? Or was it a rare case where timing, confusion, and bad positioning all came together at once?